gun. Oh wait, what? We're not doing that this time? No, okay. Well, me, I guess. Just kidding. What's up, guys? Today we're talking about some major shakeups that are happening at the ATF right now. It has been a super crazy couple days. There are actually multiple big pieces of news that I wanted to do the video on the first part a couple days ago, and then like more things started happening, and I just decided to wait for the dust to settle until I could actually do a video on everything, which thank God I did. TLDR, which for those of you over 30 means too long didn't read. A lot of shit's on the chopping block right now and heads are rolling at the ATF. But to do the opposite of what George Lucas would advise, let's start at the beginning. The ATF under Kash Patel has just reversed a huge pain in the ass in the gun industry and the gun community. He's doing great things. I hope he sticks around. We'll get to that. Just patience. But if you're sitting there wondering, Brandon, why the fuck would I care about the zero tolerance policy? I've never even heard of it. Allow me to enlighten you. The zero tolerance policy is one of the most egregious ways that the Biden administration weaponized the ATF. They realized, because of the way that the Supreme Court was staggered, they probably couldn't get away with a lot of crazy, just overreaching gun laws, at least on the federal level. So what they decided to do instead is if they realized they couldn't go after the individual right to keep and bear arms, crazy, it's almost like it's in the fucking Constitution, they would go after the people who were selling and manufacturing the guns, which is where they started weaponizing audits on mom and pop FFLs. FFL is a federal firearms license. Basically anywhere you've ever gone to that's a pawn shop, a gun store, anything, they've got an FFL. Basically it just allows them to either sell guns or, in the manufacturer case, like an 07, manufacture firearms. Now the ATF has had a history of doing audits on FFLs where basically they'll come in, they'll make sure that you've got all the guns on the books that you're supposed to have, and basically they're just making sure that you're not hawking guns out the back of your gun store to the fucking cartel, because only the ATF can do that.
Infiltrate the dealers, find the supply.
But instead of using these audits to actually catch people who are committing real crimes and selling to people they're legally not supposed to be, they started going after every little minor clerical error they possibly could. People who weren't dotting their I's, crossing their T's. Maybe you use the acronym for the state that you live in instead of the full name of the state written out. Any little thing to say that paperwork wasn't filled out correctly so that they could revoke your FFL. So instead of going after people who were actually committing real crimes and selling to people that they weren't supposed to, they were going after every little clerical error that they could to shut down local gun stores, mom and pop places, anybody who basically couldn't afford to fight the federal government in court. And now you might be asking, Brandon, this sounds like a technicality. Was anybody actually hurt by this? Fucking yes. In fact, in the first few months when the Biden administration rolled this out, FFL revocations, people losing their business, their livelihood, their FFLs, FFL revocation was up over 500%. They couldn't ban the guns, so they got fucking shady about it. Even when I did my testimony in that congressional field hearing, I spoke specifically about this issue. Another way the ATF has been expanding its authority is by targeting legal federal firearms license holders, or FFLs, such as gun stores, gun manufacturers, and so on. And it wasn't just me. Several of the other people that were testifying with me there at that hearing were either in danger or had just lost their licenses over this rule. In fact, that's how I met Chris Smith, the guy that I currently co-own Firearms Direct Club with. The first time we met each other, he was also there giving his testimony, talking about how his gun shop in Florida was being targeted by this policy. But now, if you have an FFL, you can breathe a small sigh of relief because the zero tolerance policy has now been removed, which is huge. I mean, I myself am an 07, 02 FFL, manufacturer FFL, and I shouldn't have to feel like I'm walking on eggshells, being afraid of an audit, even though I know I'm not breaking the law, but that they'll try to find some small paperwork error to try to make me out to be a criminal, to take away my business, possibly with political motivation. And believe me, there was a time when that was a concern. Now, there is one big outstanding question. The people who were victimized by the zero tolerance policy, will they have their licenses restored? I'm not sure what the plan for that is currently, but I certainly hope that there is a system to expedite those people getting their livelihood back. But for the time being, I'm just considering it a massive win. That mom and pop shops, local small businesses no longer have to live in fear of the big green weenie of the federal government casting a mushroom-shaped shadow over their entire existence. What a sentence. So yeah, summary, first part of this video, zero tolerance policy, out the fucking window. Pack watch, rest in piss, you won't be missed. Speaking of pack, I want to give a real quick thank you to TACPAC. Trying not to fucking stab myself here. TacPack is a monthly subscription service where you can get cool shit like AR-15 Tactical Multi-Tool, Kung Fu Pistol Grips, Rat's Tourniquet. You've never seen Heat?
That's on my list.
Oh, fuck you, man. Walker's Ear Pro, Dry Fire Training Systems, and more. And new subscribers can use the code AKGuide to get a free extra package of tactical gear worth $60. And the May TacPack Plus is going to be worth over $260.
That's more than $4.
That's objectively true. And this next TacPack features AR-15 accessories, EDC gear, medical equipment, and more. Actually, before I put this knife away, we'd also like to thank SDI for continuing to be a channel sponsor. If you'd like to get your start in gunsmithing and weapons technology, be sure to check them out using the links in the description and in the pinned comment at sdi.edu. Back to the video. So yeah, suffice it to say, I am super stoked that under Kash Patel's leadership, the ATF has been making moves to reverse stupid rules like the zero tolerance policy. Absolutely making steps in the right direction, and I am very excited to see under Kash Patel's leadership where the ATF is going to go on, and he's gone. Yeah, Kash got fired. Yeah, yeah. A little confused by this move, not gonna lie, but I do understand, because Kash Patel was wearing two hats, where he was the acting director of the ATF, while also being the confirmed director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI. I was pretty excited by the implications of that, given that it's always been my dream that the ATF, slowly reversed all of these rulings and then was just lumped into the FBI and gotten rid of entirely. Just gutting all the parts of its existence that only exist to infringe on law-abiding citizens and keep the stuff like, arson investigations and stuff that are actually, solving real crime. So obviously once Kash was confirmed as director of the FBI and also was picked as head of the ATF, I got a little excited for the potential of, what that was going to become. But we do have a new acting director. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome stage left, Dan Driscoll, the new acting director of the ATF. Once again, we have another guy who is wearing two hats. He is the current U.S. Secretary of the Army, as well as the newly appointed acting director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. So what do we know about him aside from that? Well, we know he was a combat veteran in Iraq, but aside from that, he was also a Republican candidate for Congress, specifically in North Carolina's 11th district, where he lost in the Republican primary. I get it. Aside from that, his actual stance on gun policy and things like that, I really wish I had better news. I don't know. Would love to get a direct line of communication because we have a lot of ideas and a lot of ways that this new ATF can, stop being gay. But if you have some concerns, don't worry because I'm about to give you some weapons-grade copium. I have reason to believe that the ATF is still gaining momentum in the right direction because just recently, the deputy director of the ATF has been fired, shit-canned, excommunicado, fuckity bye-bye. Marvin Richardson was the deputy director of the ATF, but he was also a long-standing ATF employee, having a career spanning 35 years. He was the deputy director since 2019 and was also the acting director from 2021 to 2022. Let's go back to that 35 years at the ATF bit. Do the mental math. What happened in the last 35 years at the ATF? Yeah. Old Marvin was awarded medals for his involvement at the siege of Waco. Motherfucker had the Burning Women and Children Alive merit badge. On top of that, he was largely touted as the father of the arm brace restrictions, as well as a whole host of other unconstitutional shit that the ATF has been pushing for the last 10 years or so. And he is fucking out of there. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, fuck you. I hope you have a hangnail every day for the rest of your life. This guy had bragged in the past about how much they've been able to do at the ATF to circumvent having to get laws passed by Congress.
That was no small feat because literally when you talk about changing it, we had to do it through a regulatory process, not a statutory process, because we couldn't change the language of the statute, but we could redefine the terminology that's in the statute.
He's talking about how many extra rules they're able to put on law-abiding citizens without using the legal system, circumventing Schoolhouse Rock and just putting in whatever he thinks should be the rules. Not what the Constitution says has to happen. Motherfucker bragged about it. So for the second time in this video, Marvin Richardson. Packwatch, rest in piss, you won't be missed. Yeah, these are just kind of some big moves happening in the ATF. I don't know how this is all gonna shake out, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. And if you're thinking about that one thing that just happened, don't worry, we'll be talking about that. I have to talk to some people and make sure that I'm allowed to say what I want to say about that, without fucking up certain plans. But don't worry, we will be talking about that soon. Also, sorry for being a cryptic asshole. I know I'm not trying to sound interesting. I just really don't know what I should say at the moment. And as if this video wasn't late enough, we have yet another update. I'm so fucking tired. So the deputy director of the ATF got fired. That's fucking great. We've now been informed on who the new one will be. Introducing your new deputy director, Robert Cicada? Now, I have been pretty optimistic of all of the changes over at the ATF since Trump took office. This is the first one, I'll be honest with you, throws up a little bit of a yellow flag for me. I do not know much about this man's views on the Second Amendment. However, I do know he's a career ATF guy. Nothing in his resume that I've been able to find is particularly egregious, but being a lifelong Fed naturally makes the hair in the back of my neck stand up. Is there anything obvious that means he will be bad? No. Am I worried he might be a speed bump to the dismantlement of the bullshit regulations of the ATF in the future? Absolutely. Only time will tell, but this is just another update that's been shotgunned at us in the last few hours. A lot of shit's happening very quickly, and I'm trying to keep you guys informed without turning this into just like a politics-only channel. But I felt the need to update you guys on this before I released the video, so if it's a little late, that's why. I appreciate your patience. Back to past me. In the meantime, we've had some fun projects we've been cooking up, so if you'd like to see more of that, be sure to subscribe or make sure you're still subscribed down below. I appreciate you guys as always for staying to the end of the video, and I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next one. Thanks, guys. So instead of going after people who are actually committing real crimes and selling people, So instead of going after people that were committing real crimes and selling to people that they weren't supposed to, they were going after every little clerical, fuck me. But for the time being, I'm just considering it a win that mom and pop FFLs, local small businesses, don't have to deal with the impending doom of the giant green, fuck.